Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Okay, what we'll do is still continue with the health effects and go a little bit beyond a few things that we talked about. If you recall, we had given you some idea about the lung functions and things like that. Okay, and the vital thing was to understand was that the parameters which are quickly affected because of air pollution were three: PEFR, peak expiratory flow rate. Okay. The second parameter was FVC, forced vital capacity, that is the capacity of lungs. Okay, and third one was FEV1. Okay, that is forced expiratory volume in 1 second. Okay, I also showed you the spirometry. Okay, I also showed you the volume time curve, if you recall. Okay, that's very important. And I also showed you that how the air pollution, at least the results as to how it affects the lung performance and the lung function. Okay, slightly we'll go more into the details. Oxygen is important, of course. It can cause breathlessness, it can cause headache, dizziness, irritability, nausea, vomiting, mental fatigue. Okay, bluish stain and skin, nail, lips, and even death. So oxygen is important, and oxygen the body needs oxygen, and the mechanism through which oxygen is transferred is through the lungs. As the lung performs, like poorly, okay, so it's not only the lung which gets affected, it can affect your entire body, because then oxygen transfer will not be much, and as a result it can affect even other vital organs. Okay, from air pollution we see the direct effect of onto the lungs also. People have directly correlated the cardiovascular diseases with the air pollution, disease of the lungs with the air pollution. People have even said that many of the heart attacks could be indirectly because of the air pollution. People have reported enlarged hearts, okay, in the areas where the air pollution is high. But health issues generally associated with lungs are, we had discussed about COPD, we discussed a little bit about asthma, pneumonia, lung cancer, tuberculosis, and genetically induced things. When we talk about the air pollution, we normally stick to these two things. Okay, but the point is, and we'll see, is that once you have the problem caused because of the air pollutants, what happens is your lung capacity, not only in terms of the vital capacity as we are seeing, the capacity of the lung to fight the other foreign elements, which are largely the bacteria and virus, that also goes down. Okay, once that goes down, your lung, which becomes very prone and will become very easy to be attacked by the microorganisms. And as a result, it is also tuberculosis, as we all know, is a bacterial disease, okay, treatable. But then people are now correlating even tuberculosis to air pollution, not directly but indirectly, because that could also be, that has been found higher in the areas where the air pollution was higher. And we'll see some of these things. Okay, and then you can see all things can affect the lung: dust, cigarette smoking, microorganisms, malfunction of the body fluids, and genetically induced mechanism, which of course depends on the individual or the particular case. Fine. Now what about the other pollutants, what they do? Well, we will also see very briefly, not so much in details, is fine particulate matter, respiratory system, carbon monoxide. You all have studied in high school, but very briefly we'll touch upon this. Oxygen and sulfur dioxide. Okay, it also affects the lung cleansing mechanism. Okay, and then they also affect the lung, but they also make the lung reduce in terms of its ability to fight with other issues. Hazardous pollutants, we'll see what happens is these pollutants, which are there in the gaseous form, but they could be in the particulate form, which we have not studied so much, SO2, beyond SO2, NO2. They are attached with the particulate matter and reaches in the lung, and also sometimes get across the lung into the bloodstream. So that part also we should have some idea, not as the toxicologist, but we should know. So again, these are the issues with the lung cancer, tuberculosis, COPD, asthma. And COPD and asthma are largely responsible because of air pollution. Certainly COPD, but asthma may not be directly related to air pollution, but higher air pollution level can trigger asthmatic attacks. Okay, and that's what it is. So many times people who has asthma, they would be advised, well, you don't live in polluted area. I mean, asthma, they may have the asthma, even people have the asthma in very clean area also. Okay, because that they have, but they are somehow exposed to a higher concentration, the asthmatic attacks become very common. And the people who have the asthma, they are few days, like they'll be off the work and things like that. So what our lungs are doing is pulmonary ventilation, that is inflow and outflow of air between the atmosphere and lungs. It also is responsible not only in and outflow, it is also responsible for the diffusion of oxygen and CO2 between lung and blood. Okay, that's very important. Transport of oxygen and CO2 in the blood and body fluids to and from the cells. This is the lung cell. That we'll see how it happens, so that we have the clarity. This picture I showed you last time. Okay, but I want to show it again. Okay, not very clear as I see it here. Okay, so basically this is your alveolary sacs, this one like a pocket here. Okay, and across this, okay, these are your blood streams. Okay, and the alveolus. Okay, so the oxygen goes in there. Okay, the CO2 comes here and CO2 is driven out. There are many other things. Okay, we'll talk about these things a little later. Okay, and this is very important from the protection of the lungs, and that's called macrophages. Maybe you like to remember this thing. Macrophages. And we'll see its role in a moment, but just see your particles can reach right up to here. Okay, and the interesting thing you will see, the gases. Okay, particles generally, okay, there are ways they can even get across the bloodstream, but particles generally cannot go. But you see the gaseous pollutants that are going in there and which are reaching up to this place will obviously get across and go to the bloodstream. Like the way the oxygen is going, this is simply a membrane. If the more partial pressure is there, that will go this side. If your pollution level is high in your air that you are breathing, and there's a gaseous form, that also will get across and go to the lungs, go to the bloodstream, and then it will be transported to various parts. And then it may not affect some part, but it may affect some other parts. So even the gaseous pollutants will go. And the most important gaseous pollutant which get across is the carbon monoxide. Okay, as you will recall, and carbon monoxide is very unreactive gas. Nothing happens to this one. So even if some other gases, we'll see them, they are sometimes not even able to reach deeper because they react. For example, ozone, highly reactive. Like you won't expect ozone to go all the way down here. Before that, ozone will destroy itself or destroy what it wants to destroy itself as well as destroy something else in between. So hardly there is a possibility of the ozone reaching here. But carbon monoxide, yes. So carbon monoxide will affect in the bloodstream. So let's see that one. There's a little animation I had. You might just, nothing from air pollution point of view. Then at the bottom, there's also part of the lung respiratory system is also the diaphragm. And then you can also see the air coming in, and then the dirty air goes out. And then, as I told you last time, this is called trachea. Okay, and then these are called bronchi. bronchioles. Okay, so which one is the left bronchiole, which is the right bronchiole? This is the left bronchiole, right? And this is the right bronchiole. Something very similar. So whatever the problem if you have here, which related to the bronchial thing, okay, is called bronchitis, where you have the problem with the breathing and there's a constriction. Okay, we'll see how the constriction happens in the bronchitis. Okay, so largely the effect what we see is in this one, but then we cannot say that air pollution do not affect. It can even affect the cardiovascular system, and once something is in the bloodstream, okay, that can also affect the nervous system and the other systems. So let's not be let's be clear that largely it is this area, but the others also are affected. The CO, as we are talking about, particulate matter we have discussed a little bit, but CO is a hemoglobin issue. We all know about that, so we'll just touch upon these. But the other issues of the oxides of nitrogen, sulfur dioxide, is it affects your lung cleansing. It affects a very the mechanism of the lung through which lung can keep itself healthy. Okay, and as a result, the other problems will happen, and we'll see, and we also will see some of the hazardous pollutants, what effects they can cause. Let's talk about the carbon monoxide. Okay, CO binds with the hemoglobin at the same sites as oxygen, you all know, but with the affinity of hemoglobin, okay, which is a hemoglobin is what? Hemoglobin is a protein, right? And it has the sites where the oxygen can be attached, CO can be attached, and even CO2 can be attached. Okay, so so otherwise, like if oxygen don't attach with this one, with the hemoglobin, oxygen will not be transported, okay, in the form that body needs. So what happens once you have this carbon monoxide? You see here, when with so much of the partial pressure of the oxygen, you have some hemoglobin saturation with the oxygen, 40%, 60%, and even if you have little CO, okay, and quickly it can saturate the sites, okay, it can maybe something similar to this. Not exactly in molecular form, but the sites, maybe CO2, maybe CO. So almost the oxygen cannot take place. The interesting part of the body is, okay, as the blood goes into the various parts and various organs, it is balancing the things. It takes the oxygen, and as oxygen is consumed, it attaches CO2 with it. Okay, and there's no way in between, okay, in the body that this CO2 can break off and become free. Okay, interesting part of the body where I'm not a biologist. We all just need to know, at the level. But moment it reaches the hemoglobin reaches at the lung site, okay, it sets the CO2 free. Okay, and CO2 can go across and oxygen can come in. Whereas suppose I'm talking about some part of the knee or something, it will not let CO2 go away. The hemoglobin will continue. I'm sorry. It will not. Yes, it will not let the CO2 go away. CO2 will still be associated because CO2 is also produced in the body. The CO2 is set free. The partial pressure of the CO2 in the blood will go up. Okay. So it's only when it comes to the lungs. Okay. The hemoglobin can set off the CO2 free. CO2 can go out and oxygen can come in, and the oxygen can take the sites of this, and your blood is purified. So because of this, the problem is that the CO is, in fact the effect of the CO is seen in terms of what is this CO saturation level at the hemoglobin sites. Okay, if more and more if this situation, it's a death because there is no oxygen that is there. Okay, so what you see, CO is extremely toxic because it destroys the oxygen carrying capacity. Lethal concentration in like 50% in the rats is this kind of ppm. For 4 hours, that is a standard. What you really need to see about the CO is, what should I say? when the oxygen is not there, it affects the brain very quickly. Okay, because other parts may be still working, but you lose your the senses. Okay, once it goes in the brain, you feel more dizzy. Okay, so in a way, suppose this room is filled with the SO2. I'm sure I'll stop you. You guys, you don't go away from here. You will not listen to me, and you'll just break the door and go away, because it's so irritating, so pungent, and you feel so suffocated. But problem with carbon monoxide is not suffocating. It doesn't feel anything in the life. You would rather feel, oh, I'm feeling very dizzy. Let me have a little break or nap or something in the life. And then as a result, the first thing affected is brain, because that oxygen is not reaching. So you lose your own control. And then as a result, like suppose you are driving or you are doing something very important thing, you are working the machine, then you may probably end up doing an accident. Okay, and then the problem is that it doesn't give any warning, and you might still be affected from CO. Okay, if suppose for some heating purposes, or there are the accidents that occur. Okay, accident can never occur because of SO2 or ozone or NO2 for that matter. But in the houses, sometimes like the power is gone, people are using the generators, for example, or the small stoves or little sigdis, as we call them, like, because in the cold weather, okay, let's keep it there, and then you think that little temperature will be there, and CO will build up, and you will not leave the room, and you will feel rather sleepy and dizzy, and then you probably will sleep and sleep forever. Okay, that is what is the issues with the CO. Whereas with the other gases, like, you will escape and you will try to run away from them. The first thing is, suppose somebody a little unconscious, you bring him in the air which is cleaner, and like, take him out from the room. Don't try to treat him right inside the room if that is the case. Like, so many times people, those the ventilation system is not good, which is not good in the winter anyway. The people, we all hear about that people die because of the carbon monoxide and things like that. So this is what is the issue. It's all there in the literature, in the book, what level, at what levels, what is happening, how your response time and your reaction time goes down with the exposure and things like that.